Hi, everyone. This is Hal Krosman with Screenwriting U, and today we're going to be talking about what's missing from your TV pilot. And by the way, when you come into this, really truly engage in that question. This is what pros are asking over and over as they're going through their process and building the kind of TV shows that we all love. So be open. Today, what we're going to do. We're going to start with the basics of a TV pilot, and my basics on this are different than most people's. When people normally talk about the basics, they're going to talk about the 5-act structure and all these other kinds of things, which are all important. But what I'm looking at is the basics that give you a chance to get your TV show sold. Then we'll go to the 5-star model for what makes up a great show. These are key components that are beneath the surface that actually are what cause people to keep watching over and over and over again. We'll talk about teasers, characters, and cliffhangers, because each one of those are really, truly keys, especially when you're talking about your pilot. And then finally, we'll talk about the upcoming binge-worthy class for those of you who really, truly want to write great TV. So let's jump into this. Here's your quest. And this is a question you should be asking yourself constantly. What does it take to become a great TV writer? If you're going to do this, why not play the game? Why not go full out in it? And why not have fun in the midst of it and have the kind of success and the kind of recognition that gets that you get from people when you bring them great projects. Sometimes just doing the right kind of rewrite can change everything for you. So that's what we want to happen for you. All right, your pilot. First, your pilot's the inciting incident for your series. This is important. It actually sends us on the journey. It's what causes people to decide that they're going to watch the rest of the story. It sets up the things that need to be set up, but it needs to be done in a way that is incredibly compelling. It introduces the concept of your entire show. It introduces the world. It introduces the characters and the main conflicts of this story. So, every one of these, of course, we need to know pretty quickly in order to be engaged. But here's the thing. This has to deliver on multiple levels. We did a contest at one point, had people sending in their TV pilots. And I would say when I looked at them, 80% of them delivered on only 2 levels, not 5 levels like the pros do. They had a surface level right up here, and then they had just enough going on beneath the surface to say that they qualified, in putting a different level. But everything else was missing beneath that. So this is also critically important. So a pilot that happens on the surface only won't get made. And that's where what we're going to talk about here today, I think, will make a big difference for you. So, yeah, let me give you this. This is the 5-star model. And what we did on this was I looked at the difference between the amateur scripts and the pros. And the pros had so much of this built into it. It was incredible. And I would have the stuff I'm about to show you. I'd have people say to me, well, that only fits one genre, or that doesn't fit my genre, or that kind of thing. But I'm going to tell you, romances have this in it. Thrillers, action stories, dramas, they all have this built into it when they're that good. And that's your job. So here we go with what you need. First, you need the big picture hooks. And this means, well, in one thing, it means a unique world, but the truth is it also means that you need a strong concept that the moment you say it, people light up. So if they ask you what your show's about, the first thing I would be saying is, the main concept what that concept is. I might go to a character, but if I was going to go to a character, my job is to create a hook. The answer to any big picture questions about your story is a hook. Make sure that whatever you say in that moment causes them to just go, oh my God, I can sell this off of that. And by the way, it will be sold off of that. It'll be sold to audiences. You know, how many times have you watched something because somebody just told you one thing about it and you were intrigued, right? It'll be sold to audiences that way. It'll be sold inside the industry that way. So big picture hooks are the key to your success. Another big picture hook, by the way, is if you have a truly intriguing world. Second, you need intriguing characters. And again, you know, these are easy to write into thrillers and that kind of thing, but you also need them in your dramas. You need them in your romances. You need them in any project that, well, if you're going to try to sell it, you need intriguing characters. And this means that they've got something going on underneath the surface, something truly intriguing. There's something clandestine. There's something that they're hiding, something deep that affects the whole story. And if you have, if you have characters that are just sweet, I think you got a problem there. But we'll talk about that. There is a way to do it. Like Ted Lasso actually did a good job of that, but it's because they took a sweet character and they put him into a situation that was so out of control. So there was so much scheming, so much opposition, all that kind of thing. And so we just cared deeply for him in that case. But in most cases, you need a character that is as intriguing as your concept. And in fact, if you have 5 lead characters that are this whole story is about, I'd make sure every single one of them have deep levels of intrigue. Then you need what we call empathy distress. And really what this is, it's how do you create enough distress to cause an audience to feel empathy? And this is empathy has become so much more important than likability. Now, think about this. If you back up 20 years ago in this industry, if you didn't have a likable character for your lead character, you were in trouble. That was 20 years ago. Likability was number 1. It no longer is. In fact, it's actually number 3. And empathy is far, far, far more important. If you can build empathy for your characters, that's a much deeper emotional experience. This gives you a real chance because people are going to not only fall in love with them, but they're going to worry about them constantly. And that brings them back to the next episode and the next season, right? So this makes a huge difference. And empathy, by the way, again, comes from putting that character in distress. So this gives us really 2 key pieces of information when you're creating. First, stop worrying about likability, focus on empathy. And if you haven't yet gone, wow, of course, please just open your mind and consider this possibility. If you just like somebody, you can forget them, right? You have people in your life that you like, and you haven't thought about them for 3 months. But now they're the people that you have empathy for, that you really are worried about, that you are concerned about how they do, that you are wondering what's going to happen with them, all that kind of thing. The people you have empathy for, you probably think about almost every day. So it's the same thing with these characters. Then number 4, you need layers and open loops. And I'll present layers here because it's really important. I'll leave out open loops. We'll talk about that another time. But layers means you have a surface, and then you have a deeper meaning beneath that surface, and maybe a deeper meaning beneath that, and maybe even a deeper meaning beneath that. And that would give you 4 layers. When a layer is revealed, what almost automatically happens is we have to reevaluate things We have to rethink who our characters are, right? And we have to look for what now might come up next because this character was somebody that was different than I thought, or because there's been a plot layer that I had not expected, had not, assumed was going to happen. And I'm having to reevaluate the reality of the situation. So far, I want you to just look at this. Every one of these, your big picture hook, what your main concept is, intriguing characters, deep empathy, and layers that completely change the reality we're looking at. Every one of these are designed to cause people to be obsessed with your program, which brings us to number 5. You've got a show on the air now, and your job is to invite obsession. Now, there are going to be some people who say, but that's not a nice thing to get people obsessed. And maybe it's not, I don't really know. It just depends. I think people are obsessed about things anyway. They have a tendency to go that direction, and something to focus their attention on. But our job is to get them obsessed with your show, which means we're actually asking them, we're presenting opportunities for them to become not only somebody who loves the show, but a raving fan who talks about it constantly, who recommends it to everybody. And basically this part means that you are creating the kinds of mysteries, the kinds of deep questions, the unpredictability, the constant worry about what's going to happen in the show. And because of that, we've got to watch again the next episode. And when we're done with that one, we need to watch the next one. You do all 5 of these incredibly well, and great things will happen for you as a writer. If you do these at a really light level, or if you miss 2 or 3, well, it was a good writing exercise, and I wish you the best with that. But sadly enough, I think that will end up with you feeling like you couldn't make it, when the truth is, all you need is to know how to do it, and you can craft your stories through this. And that will make a tremendous difference for you. So let's talk about this first part that can actually change your life. Teasers. Your teaser, it hooks us, it intrigues us. This is its job. The teaser, by the way, and just in case anybody doesn't know, is the opening scene of your TV pilot. It doesn't count as one of the acts. Then there's act 1 through 5 after that. But the teaser, the very first thing we see, its job is to hook us, intrigue us, create a mystery that engages us to watch the entire episode and maybe the entire series. And that's actually possible. At this one's easy. If you create a great teaser that does all of these things, absolutely they're going to watch the entire episode. But there have been times when I've watched a teaser and I went, I know I'm going to watch this entire series. We'll take it a step further in just a moment, and this is where this comes. Your teaser, its job is to sell the producer on you as a writer. This is incredibly important. Back when we did that contest, I looked at 250, maybe 300 scripts that I just applied this criterion. I said, if somebody read just that teaser, which might be 2 to 5 pages long, if they read just that teaser, would the producer want to hire this writer? The answer was, on 90% of them, the answer was an absolute no. And they were things that were okay scenes, but a lot of times they were very vague. Sometimes they were confusing. Sometimes it was just the person thought their job was to introduce the character. That's not the purpose of your teaser. Your character will show up in it. And that's a good thing. But the purpose of the teaser is to do these things: hook us, intrigue us, create that mystery that engages us for the entire episode or series, and tell the producer you are an incredible writer that they want to work with from now on. What would that be like if every producer who looked at your script said, oh my God, by the end of the teaser? Let me show you one here. You remember Breaking Bad? I hope. This one. Let's go to the teaser for a moment and then I'll talk about it. So basically the teaser starts this way. We see the desert, and the desert, it's just, it's dry. It's a hot day. Nothing's going on. Nothing is moving. And then we notice something's coming out of at the top of the screen, and it's a pair of pants that are drifting through the air. At that point, an RV breaks through it, which is another one of those what the hell moments. And now we cut to the inside and we see the driver, and he's got a gas mask on, right? And it's like, what? And then we see that he's in his underwear. What does this mean? And now we see the guy next to him who also has a gas mask on, but he's slumped over unconscious. And as the RV is swerving, we cut to the back and we see this mud or the sludge drifting back and forth, and there are two dead bodies in it. The RV finally then crashes into a sandbank, and this guy jumps out of it. At the time, he's still in his underwear and his gas mask, throws the gas mask away, takes a deep breath, and he goes back in. And we're like, what's he doing? And now he comes back out and he's got a gun and a video recorder. And he gives this video confession that starts with the words, to all law enforcement agents, this is not a confession of guilt. But it is, by the way. But it's him telling his family, at least giving them some kind of care and consideration in the situation, and letting them know that whatever they're going to find out about him, he did it all for them, which gives us a completely different experience of this character. So it's a reveal, by the way. It gives us a completely different character of our experience of this character. And it has us be emotionally attached. Then at that moment, he walks to the road and you can hear the sirens. Whoever it is coming, and he pulls his gun up and points it, and we realize he's about to do suicide by cop. Now I want to pause because I want you to see what this is. First thing, it's a whole series of reveals. Like, I don't know how many exactly, I'd have to go count, but it's probably 9 or 10 reveals in a row. And every one of them creates more intrigue for us. Every shot gives us new information, and it intrigues us about what might be really going on. That's really important. So we've got intriguing action, we've got a desperate character, and we've got emotional dialogue all built into this same scene. It ends with a major hook, him standing down who he thinks are the cops. Later on, we find out they weren't, but it looked like it at that point. And by the end of the scene, any producer, not just some, any producer that reads this would say this writer is incredible. Before this show came out, I read the pilot. I was like, I read just this first. And I stood back and went, oh my God, this is going to be an incredible show. The writing on it is just as good as actually watching it. It is done so well, but it's because of all these decisions. Every one of these, most people would look and go, but how did he say the words? What are the words in that description? It's not the words that made this great. It's the decisions. You know, the decision, the major hook at the end, every single one of the reveals was a decision. Everything that intrigued us was a decision. This character with their desperation and the dialogue, the emotional dialogue, all of that was a decision. But even more important, choosing this particular scene to write there was a decision that the writer made. So you can do this, right? This is what our job is. Our job is to be able to set this up so that when you go to write anything, especially the teaser in your pilot, you need to design something that we can't stop thinking about. Ever since the moment I read this scene, I probably talked about it to thousands of people, you know, and at the same time, I've gone through and analyzed it 2 different ways. I've had a team analyze it. We've done a lot of things because this scene was incredible. Now, by the way, the writer on this, Vince Gilligan, is absolutely worth reading on any episode that he wrote in this. And of course, it was a team. It was a writer's room, but he's the showrunner. So if you get a chance, take a read and see what you think. And then after you read it, then look back at yours and see what you think. You can do this kind of writing. It's just a matter, again, it's a matter of the decisions, not the words. The words they just simply follow the decisions. Most people focus intensely on the words when they could just go, wait a minute, I could make one better decision and the entire scene is better without me even changing words. Huge difference. So let's go to characters. And sorry if I'm ranting on this, I got to tell you, it's so hard to watch when somebody just keeps writing the same level over and over and over, when if they just shifted a few things, it could make all the difference. Characters. Please don't let a nice character keep you from seeing the layers beneath their surface. And a lot, this is the main thing that I've had happen. By the way, if you have a nice character, just make it a background character. Definitely do not bring this nice, sweet character who has no layers. Don't bring them in as the primary player until you figure out what's beneath that surface. But I've said this so many times to writers and they'll say, but no, I like that character. They're nice. And it's like, yeah, I know they are. You're just not going to be able to get an actor to play that. And very likely you're not going to be able to get you're not going to get a lot of people involved unless it just happens to be the one version that seems to work, like the Ted Lasso kind. On most of the others, you still need layers. Even if they're nice on the surface, they need layers beneath the surface. So, and then your job is to build in empathy. And you do that by creating distress for that character, right? We took this character right here. We built a lot of intrigue around this character, or Vince Gilligan did. But they also put this character into some pretty difficult places, right? It's like, nobody listens to him. He's the guy who created the big innovation that the company that he owned before was based on, and he gave that away. Nobody listens to him now as a chemistry teacher. Nobody seems to care. And then he finds out that he has cancer and he has 2 years to live. So we've now got quite a bit of distress. And if you take it just a step further, as soon as he steps into this other field, he has a couple of bad guys coming out and wanting to kill him and his partner in order to get his drugs. And they end up killing them. In one case, it's by mistake. But it's like, now that's some more distress that he's going through. They have built so much distress around this guy in the beginning to create empathy for who he is. So we'd go on that journey with him. And by the way, if you watch all of the episodes, all of the seasons, by the end, you hated him because he turned into this really, really, truly terrible person. But this is what got us there in the beginning. So you know, and again, it's either bad things happen to good people, like Ted Lasso. And if you're going to do that, like again, with the Ted Lasso thing, they took this wonderfully nice guy who is just trying to do all the right things, and they had everything against him. It wasn't just that he didn't know very much about, uh, you know, English football compared to American football. It was that he stepped into this situation and there was so many other things going on. The owner's trying to get revenge against her ex-husband by killing the team. She brought Ted Lasso in so that he would be a fool, so that he would be destroyed, and the team with him. They just meet and she's just chit-chatting along and she says, come in here. And she just walks him in front of a press conference with not one word of setup. And it's like she's just setting him up for pain constantly. You know, and then it turns out then the press is against him, then the entire country is against him. He's constantly being treated badly. So if you're going to do something and put a nice guy in that situation, make sure there are so many bad things that we care deeply and we are watching to see how they live. Other than that, then you put really bad things happening to unlikable characters. And that's Succession, by the way. And if you haven't seen it, Succession is worth watching, but it's worth watching really just from this one perspective. There's a bunch of other ways, but it's like just from this perspective, it's fascinating. I'm sitting there watching that show. I think we were probably 5 episodes into it. And I looked over at Cheryl and I said, do you like any of these characters? I'm talking the main characters. And this is before we found out what you know, it was like all the other things that are going to happen later on. 5 episodes in, we didn't like any of them. You know, we didn't like the dad, we didn't like the kids, we didn't like the people who were, you know, working at the company. We didn't like what they were doing. We didn't like the scheming. There was a whole bunch of things we didn't like, but there was so much intrigue, distress. Every one of those characters were under serious distress. And over time, we felt empathy for them. And that completely changed my view. It's like, wow, you can bring in characters that are despicable and put them in these difficult situations and make things horrible for them, and we start to feel for them. Now, if you're a writer and you can do that, you're amazing. So that's part of what we're doing. It's not just the good guys that we treat well, it's also the bad ones. And it's like, and our objective as writers is to get our audience engaged in each of their journeys. So big key here is the distress has to exceed how bad they are if you're trying to get the audience feeling empathy for them. Now, this is another place where you make a decision. You might have some characters that you just want to leave bad, and we just go, okay, we hate them, and we don't feel for them. But you also might have some characters that are really despicable again, and you create a situation where we actually worry about them, we think about them, all that kind of thing. If you accomplish that, anybody who reads your writing is just going to go, wow. Now, they may also think you're a little disturbed. I don't know. But that's, you know what, that's okay. I've seen producers bring writers in just so they could meet them, just to say, you know, wow, I can't believe the things you're writing. And sometimes the person that they bring in looks like the nicest, sweetest person. But you know, they're a great writer, and they know how to get us emotionally engaged, which again, I'm saying you can do. And if you don't believe that yet, start telling yourself that I can do this. It's absolutely possible for me. I just got to use the right skills on that. So characters. Everybody knows this. Great characters are complex, especially TV characters, because TV characters, that we need them to play out over 5 seasons, right? So there's going to be lots of stuff going on. They have more going on under the surface than on the surface. This is incredibly important. Again, 90% of the scripts that we saw in that one contest, 90% of them, the writer focused almost entirely on the surface. And they had a little bit under the surface, but not very much. And to them, they only saw that character from one perspective. And so the reader felt the same way. And when I read it, I felt the same way also. It was like the writer didn't see anything deeper in the character, so we didn't. But if you're going to have a great TV character, they're going to be filled with subtext, with intrigue, with deeper layers. There are going to be things that are going to be exposed about them that we would have never thought could have happened. We're going to see some to be the absolute opposite by season 2 of what we thought they were in the beginning of season 1, right? So you need those layers to play out. So you need to build them in. And let me say this again, so it's really clear. These are decisions. These aren't words, right? Everybody, every time I hear somebody and they're saying, I need to figure out how I can write a little better description, or I'm just working on editing the words and stuff like that. It's like, if you do a rewrite, if your script is good but not great, and you do a rewrite that is simply wordsmithing, it'll never get great. Never. You need to start changing some decisions. What are those key decisions that you can change that will have the producer experience? There's some incredible stuff under the surface here. And then cliffhangers. Your cliffhanger. This is a major twist, right? We're at the end of your episode. And since we're talking about the pilot, you've got a teaser, you've got 5 acts. Your 5th act is going to be very short. Often it'll be a page or maybe even less, might be 2 pages sometimes, but it's going to be short, and it's the cliffhanger. And this is a major twist from which there's no going back. Something is going to happen at the end that's going to shock us. It's going to surprise us. It's going to possibly reveal a deeper layer, possibly unexpected character intrigue. You're going to find out that the person you thought was wonderful turns out to be evil. Or somebody, just some major thing just happened. The building got blown up. The son of the lead character just got arrested. Something big just happened that there's no going back. Once it happens, you can't go back. And that's part of what a cliffhanger is. So it sends us into the next episode going, what the hell? and maybe what the something else, but sorry. It sends us into the next episode, and we're like shocked, right? This has been a paradigm shift. This has been a moment that changed what we thought everything was about, and we have to watch the next episode to find out. So this is a shocking moment. All of the drama of the episode has led to this. And yeah, once you know, this is, by the way, this is the way you do this. You say, okay, what's my cliffhanger? You figure that out. Once you know that, then you go back and design the setups for it. And the setups do 2 things. First, they point to it in a light way, so that later on, if you went back and you looked and you go, oh, wow, that's right, this one character said this thing and it seemed weird. But it's what was actually going on under the surface. That character was talking from that deeper layer that's about to be exposed. Or there might have been a moment in there where something happens, some action occurred that we interpreted one way, and then at the cliffhanger, we find out it means a whole different thing. So you go back, once you've figured out your cliffhanger, you go back and design the setups to point to it. And then you also design some setups to make that cliffhanger surprising, as in no one would think that was what was going to happen because you sent them in a different direction. So So what all of this is about is giving you a chance to start thinking about the kinds of decisions that you're going to make as a writer on your shows. And this is the thing. If I was going to say, if you just did one thing, what I would say is go back and look and see, and just ask this question on every scene. Ask yourself, is there any other decision I could have made here that would make this better? Right? And better might be make it more intriguing. It might be surprise people. It might be set something up better, but it also might be build in some layers under the surface. Have the characters talking from a deeper layer that hasn't been exposed yet, while we're interpreting it on a surface layer. There are so many decisions that you can make that no matter just making that decision will change not only that scene, but maybe change the chance of you succeeding in this industry. Now, let me give you another one. And stay with me for a couple of minutes. Let me talk with you about a class that the people who have just completed it said completely changed their life as writers. We've had a lot of people go through this class. We've had a lot of them end up having some kind of success. We've had people winning major contests, all kinds of things. And we've had writers who have become part of writing rooms because of this. So this is the Binge-Worthy TV class. We created it a few years ago, focusing on the top 1% of the shows that were on streamers, with our purpose being having you be able to create at the top. Not at the other levels. We weren't looking for what 50% of the people do or 50% of the shows do. We were looking for what do they do at the very top. So when you're creating, your decisions, as I've said a bunch of times here, your decisions are 10 times more important than the words. People spend a lot of time focusing on the words, and it's a valuable thing. It's a worthwhile thing if you got the decisions right. So your decision, one of the decisions is, what's the concept, right? Is it a major hook? If somebody asks you to describe your show in 1 or 2 sentences right now, what you say, would that cause them to instantly say, oh my God, I have to work with you? Oh my God, that's an amazing show idea. Another decision, looking deeper. Do you have layers built in? And not just like light stuff. I mean, layers that surprise us, layers that we go, oh my God, that's the one character I would have never expected X to happen with. Do you have intrigue built in? Do you have conspiracies, major reveals that shock, surprise, and shock? Go back to that opening scene of Breaking Bad. However many reveals are in there, again, it's maybe 8 or 9. That's masterful writing. That's the kind of thing that you really want to be doing. And then here's another decision. What could make this more interesting? What could make this scene more interesting? What could make this character more interesting? What could make this twist more interesting? What could make this cliffhanger more interesting? So you're constantly brainstorming that and rethinking those decisions. Then another decision is building in multiple layers of conflict. Not just 1 or 2, but 3, 4, 5. So that we keep revealing things that are based around the conflict and keep surprising us. And then how do you constantly challenge these lead characters to their core so that when you challenge them, you challenge the audience. And because of that, they're going to be more deeply engaged in the show. And we've got 44 more important decisions that are all built into that first module. So this is our first module. You're designing your show. And this is what we do instead of just going, oh, I've got an idea, let me start writing. What we do here is we go through and you're looking at those decisions that sell the show. What will sell it? What gives you a real chance? And the reason we're thinking about that from the very beginning is because that's your end goal, right? My hope is that you want to sell a show, and that going through this class will give you the real chance. So we're going to start with that right off the bat. And then you're going to work through the 50 most important decisions for your shows. These are the ones that are going to get people so captivated, so engaged. When they read your pilot, they're going to stand back and go, oh my God, this writer has thought this out at a level that we didn't. It'll have you stand out. That's what the job is here. And these decisions also all fit with what will sell your show. So it gives you a real chance. Again, decisions make your show great, and they are what cause it to sell. So that's the job of module 1. It's a 30-day module. I'm going to give you a whole bunch of different ways to think each part of this. You're going to put it all together in the end in a framework that you can put up on the wall. You'll have 2 or 3 pages on the wall. And every time you're writing an episode, a scene, a character, any of those other kinds of things, you'll be able to look back to these decisions and find something intriguing, something engaging that will make that character stand out or that scene stand out. So this will become something that will dramatically increase your chance of being able to either win contest or break into this industry. Module 2 is now about creating the pitch Bible, the TV pitch Bible. And these are based, and this is the way we're thinking. I called up some producers that I knew, and I said, please tell me, what do you need in a pitch Bible today? Not what did they do 10 years ago or 15 years ago or before streamers. I said, what do you need today? And I interviewed a bunch of them. They were incredibly kind. And these are people that I've worked with before and I've talked with. And 2 of them allowed me a chance to talk with their funding sources, because this is what one lady said. She said, one of my big problems when a writer sends me a TV Bible is I look at it and she says, I can tell in a glance, I can just skim through the pages and I realize we're going to have to completely rewrite this in order to take it to our funding source. And I was like, really? And she goes, yeah. And she goes, so because of that, most of them are an instant no. And I said, well, are there any that you ever read and you go, okay, it's worth having your team rewrite it? And she goes, about once every 2 or 3 months. And it's like, okay, wow, that's a barrier to entry that we didn't know about. So I asked her if I could talk to the funding sources, and she put me in touch with them. And I interviewed them to find out exactly what do they need to see and exactly in what order. We then took that, we wrote this module. I had one of my writers go through it, and I took her TV pitch Bible and I sent it back to this producer with her permission. I sent it back to this producer and I said, just look at it from that perspective. Would you say you could hand this straight to your funding source? And she said, yes, I could. So from that point on, that changed things. Our writers, if they could get in the door, which is one hurdle, then the second hurdle becomes, if they look at your TV Bible, do they go, oh, I can't do anything with this? Or do they say, wow, I could hand that straight to my funding source? That's an easy yes. So the other thing is we've got specific criteria that goes into this TV Bible, and our objective is not just to put these blurbs in there, it's to make them a page turner, which means the moment anybody looks at your TV Bible, if they just opened up to page 2 and just started kind of skimming and reading, any paragraph they read would cause them to become more interested, thus increasing the chance they read every bit of it. It makes a huge, huge difference. Then from there, we're going to go to what they do in writers' rooms. Writers' rooms, when I've interviewed showrunners, what they tell me is that like one showrunner said, they spend 4 days with the team, brainstorming and creating the outline. And he said, then we hand it to one writer who has 2 days to write it. Now you could say, oh, that's 4-2, but it's not. It's 6 people spending 4 days to 1 writer spending 2 days. So they're at, I don't know what the number is, but it's like 15-1, the amount of time that they spend on the outline. Incredibly important. This will change your writing. It'll take it to such a much higher level. And if you ever hope to be in a writer's room, you're going to be outlining constantly. So master it. So you're going to build into your outline depth, intrigue, the key needs for the pilot, right? Again, if you have a great outline, it's going to turn into a great pilot. So from there, we go to module 4. Now you're writing this pilot, but you're not just writing it. You are coming from an outline that is probably the most proficient outline you've ever seen. And it's making it incredibly easy for you to write this pilot. In fact, what we're going to do in module 4 is we're going to go through 6 drafts in 30 days. And during that period of time, you're going to watch while your show really comes to life. This is, again, it's designed to launch the entire show. That's its purpose of this pilot. But what it's got to do is it's got to create this experience. So it delivers, by the time we get there, you're going to have an outline that delivers on all 5 levels, which means the pilot will deliver on 5 different levels. It'll make a huge difference for you. Now, this class starts on June 10th. That gives you not much time here. We're getting pretty close to it. Starts on June 10th. And at that point, what will happen is, as soon as you sign up for this class, we'll send you a pre-lesson where you can create your concepts and start putting together the information that you need to come in. But the moment you come in on June 10th, what happens from that point on is every day, every other day, you're going to be getting another lesson. You're going to be working with another level up. So each day we'll just take it one little piece at a time, and you will build this thing over time in a way that if you had tried to do all of it at once, you'd have been confused out of your mind. But because we're doing this one step at a time, and each step adds another component, and each step builds in more depth and more intrigue, by the time we're done with this, you're going to be at an incredibly high level and really, truly have something that has a real chance. We had a writer go through this class. She said she had written like 6 pilots before this. And she said none of them were doing better than a semifinalist in contest. She went through this program. At the end of it, she came out, took her pilot, did whatever rewrite she wanted to do with it, and then took it to one of the biggest contests, which is the Final Draft Big Break contest, up against about 1,000, 1,500 TV writers. She ended up winning first place. And when she won, she called me up and she sent me a text first and said that she had 2 managers that were reading her pilot, and both of them indicated they wanted to talk with her. So I walked her through the process, and this is module 5. Module 5 is all about how do you get to the producers, the streaming services, and all that kind of thing. I walked her through, helped her create her pitches, and then walked her through how to get in the door, how to do that. Actually, what she was already in the door, but how to talk with them, how to work with them, how to interact with them, what the meeting was going to be like, and how to pitch herself as a writer. 3 days later, she called me back and she said, both managers want to represent me. What do I do? Now, we walked through it. I gave her questions. She went back to them. She asked both of them the 2 questions I gave her, and one of them stood out as, he answered it in a way that was absolutely amazing. The other one gave her kind of an average, so what kind of thing, and she picked her manager, the one that stood out. So this module now is all about you putting together these 4 different kinds of pitches, because people get caught off guard so many times because they've created one pitch, but don't know what the other ones are that they maybe ask for. And bam, they're in trouble. So we're going to make sure that you know what you're doing, that you have the pitches that you need, and that you've created the kind of pitches that actually can get you in the door and make things happen. Now, again, the start date is June 10th. Let me give you a special on this. The normal price is $12.99. This special is for the first 10 people. We are approaching the actual class. Usually by now we would be charging at a higher level. For the first 10, you can get in at $749. That saves you $550. And it means, you know what, you get a chance to go through this program to master these skills and to really have a chance at doing something to completely change who you are as a writer, to elevate your skills to a professional level, and to be seen by people in this industry as somebody who really knows what they're doing. So if you'd like to join us, just write this link down, bit.ly/BWTV-order. And if you need a payment plan, we can get you in for $130 a month for 6 months. That's the equivalent of a Starbucks each day. And I'm not telling you have to give up Starbucks, but it's really, this is every day, I promise you'll get 10 times that kind of value, and it'll be so worth it from a perspective of who you become as a writer. So all you got to do on that one is just write this link down, bit.ly/BWTV-payment plan. And whichever one of those you choose, put it in your browser, click return, and go on this adventure. And so let me just leave you with this question. What would happen if you went through this program and as a result of it, were able to do things you'd never been able to do with your writing, had people respecting your writing, had people seeing you as somebody with tremendous potential, and had a real chance at being able to win contests and maybe to break into this industry if that's what you want to do? What would that be like for you? So come join us and find out. With that, I want to say thanks so much for hanging out with me. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you got something out of it. That's our objective, is to always make sure that people get as much as they can when you're here with us. So this is Hal Crosman with Screenwriting U, wishing you the absolute best in your writing. Bye-bye, everyone.